Hey, what's up? I'm the Zim. This is the Zim video. This is called MFA Chronicles, and it's a documentation of my process of being a graduate student at San Diego State University. And I think it's a good time to give you an update on what's been going down. Let's see, today is March 14th, 2020, and yesterday was March 13th. And as of yesterday, we are no longer allowed to access the school because of the coronavirus pandemic, I guess you'd call it. So all the graduates have been sent home, all the students have been sent home, all the graduates have been forced out of their studios. So let me break down my chain of events of how all this went down, just for documentation's sake, and get an idea of what's been going on. Obviously, the coronavirus has been spreading its way across the globe. Now, I'm not a big news cat, but like what I know is it started in China, and it's shut down a couple countries, including Italy, completely quarantined, and it's finally made its way to the United States. Washington, I know, has got it really bad. Seattle, because I'm from Seattle and all my friends are on Facebook, and I got word that was a pretty significant epicenter for what was going on. And then California has also got more cases. Maybe New York has more cases than some of the other places in the country. I live in San Diego, and as of yesterday, the last I heard, or today, the last March 14th, as I said, the most of what I heard so far is that there's been a few cases, and then there's been like 3 cases associated with the San Diego State University itself, something like that. That's what I heard. I saw an email from my school about one case in particular from a study abroad student that was diagnosed with the virus. So that was before, that came after they shut down the school, basically. But about a week ago, I suppose, or so, maybe less than a week ago, during this last week, words was starting to get around. Yeah, it was like Monday and Tuesday this last week. Word was starting to get around that they were progressively, on Tuesday, I had 2 classes, and I was informed by the instructors of the class that they're planning on shutting down the school. We have 2 weeks we're allowed to be on campus. At the beginning of spring break, the school will be shut down, and for the duration of a period of time. And then within 24 hours of that notice, I think the government decided to shut down a lot of stuff. So that kicked up the speed at which the school is going to get shut down. So then on Thursday, we were notified that Friday is going to be our last day of classes, of on-campus classes, for at least 2 weeks. And then, so we've been kind of on this hustle. And so what has that meant for me was, when I first heard it, I was thinking, oh, okay, they're going to shut down the school. But since I'm a graduate student and, I'm not in a lot of classes, I'll just be in my studio working, I'll still be able to access my studio, and that'll be fine. Then I learned that, no, in fact, on Thursday I learned, no, in fact, we are getting locked out of our studios starting on Friday. Like, they're turning off the keys. We have keys that you maybe saw me talk about before. We go check them out every day, and when we want to get into our studio, we go into a key box and open it up, grab the keys, do our thing today, and then check them back in at night. And that's fine. And then, so they were locking out of us out of the key box. So I was like, okay, great. So basically Thursday night and Friday, I used the entirety of that time to take what I thought I needed. I didn't take everything out of my studio because that would have been a lot of work, and it was already a lot of work for what I did take. I brought back my main computer, which is the smaller one, and then the second computer is the one I bought for here as a secondary computer, but now I just got them both set up, so I get to be ultra nerdy with 2 computers there. But If you remember my Studio Chrysalis on campus, I had a couple monitors anyway, but they weren't like functioning computers. These are both functioning computers, but I needed to bring my main computer back here because that can handle all the video work I do, and so I didn't want to rely on the other one, so I was just bringing it back. So that's here, and this is what I call Studio 1200. So we're back in Studio 1200 set up. So I just kind of tangented there for a second, but so that's what it means. I don't have access to my studio. I have to do all my work from here. We're doing all our classes through this online meeting program called Zoom, which is actually kind of fun and cool. So that's an interesting thing. This design week that I've talked to you about in the past, we're going to convert that to a virtual event. Hopefully they've progressively, like every 24 hours, some new protocol gets disseminated through the group, and right now they want to cancel all student success fee programs, but they will make exceptions if you can make a case for your exception. And my student success fee project, I think, will fall under that exception of being able to do it virtually, because the guests will give their lectures through Zoom and we'll all hang out with them online. So there's that. What else to talk about? So then also just the progression of, getting the news that, and then my own personal feeling about stuff I want to tell you about, but getting the news that we're going to get kicked out of our studio is a really big deal for a lot of the grad students on campus, because there's a bunch of them that are going through what's called advancement, and they have to do, it's a pretty significant part of this graduate studies program. So you have to go through your advancement in order to, go to the next year and then be able to write your thesis. So there's a bunch of students that this is kind of becoming a problem. They have to do their advancement virtually, whereas before it would have been in a gallery setting. So that's a kind of a big deal, and some of them aren't quite done with their work, and just a lot of stuff where not having their studio kind of makes it a burden for them. Luckily, everybody, wants to do their best work, put their best foot forward, and if they can't do that, it's a little frustrating. And then also the thesis students won't be able to have their thesis shows, so that's kind of a big deal to them. I mean, they can do it virtually still, but if they're not ready, that's kind of a big deal. That's even a bigger deal maybe than advancement, but it's, so there's a lot of kind of frustration around this for the other students, which I can understand. For me, I'm in a fortunate spot where, being a first-year graduate student, it's not as big of an impact, and also I've been doing a lot of video work and a lot of virtual work. So right now, doing physical work isn't as important and not what I'm doing. So the need for a real studio isn't as big for me. So I'm grateful for that, and also grateful that I don't have to worry about money for the time being. I got my financial aid money, so I'm not worried about not being able to work, which a lot of people in the country and areas are kind of affected by that. So hopefully their employers will be lenient. Hopefully the people their bill and rent to will be lenient. So there's that kind of thing going on as well. And then what else? And then, so just to address as well my personal feelings on being locked out of the studios. At first I was kind of bummed. As I said, I thought I was going to be able to just go back anyway and just treat it like it's a normal school day anyway. Just go and work in my studio and just be on my normal cycle. However, because I do tend to have kind of hypochondriac tendencies, and I'm fairly anxious, what I've probably told you about before, the idea that there's this collective sense of anxiety around this idea. I live with my mom, who's 70 years old. My kid's mom is pregnant as well. So there's like people in my life that, if this virus gets into our ecosystem, it could be serious. It could be deadly for them. So I am personally willing to err on the side of extra cautious around this whole thing. I basically don't plan to leave this room for the next 2 weeks because I just don't want to have any personal anxieties around this whole thing, and then I don't want to expose my family to it. I don't get to see my kids right now because of this whole thing. We want to stay on the safe side. I just been doing already this today and yesterday, doing FaceTime and other virtual ways of seeing them. So that's kind of where it's going with that. But there's also this last little piece of, you know, the culture, the rest of the grad students that, you know, they want to have access to their space. And so they, just today there was like an email that went around that they're trying to petition the dean of the school to allow them to get back into their studios. And because everybody has a different mindset on things, my mindset is I think it's wiser to just give this one up to the universe and go, you know, it sucks I don't have access to my space, but for the well-being of the rest of the people around me, let's just stay home. Let's just stay home and let this pandemic, the virus cycle play itself out. It's supposed to like be a 14-day cycle. So as long as nobody else gets sick, it'll, after 14 days or something, it dies off. So that's kind of where I stand on it, especially since there has been confirmed cases of it on the SDSU campus from the SDSU community. So that's kind of, so I can't, like, I'm not personally going to be, you know, petitioning the dean to change her mind or his mind. I don't even know who the dean is. Yeah, so that's just where I stand, and I understand why people have other viewpoints and other ideas, and I appreciate that, but I just wanted to share mine on the whole issue. So that's what's been going on with life, as you probably already know, because the whole world is affected by this now. So if you've listened to this story, it's just another one of the stories that we're dealing with right now in the world. You know, a student story, a graduate student story, a father, a family member. So I just hope everybody's safe, everybody stays safe. I did, the other day I wrote this thing on Facebook just telling a little bit of what I just told you, and that I hope everybody stays safe and healthy through this time, and I hope you do too. And I encourage everybody to err on the side of caution. You know, if you don't need to go out for a while, don't go out. You know, if you have extra money to spare, donate to your friends that might be service industry people or musicians or artists, and ask them if they could use some support, and support them if you can. But thanks for watching. Again, always be loving, kind, and patient with each other, and until next time, peace.